You have not been forgotten by heaven. You've wondered, quietly, without telling anyone. You've smiled while questioning everything. You've served faithfully, even while secretly asking if I still see you. And the answer, spoken now without hesitation, is this. I have never, not for a single moment, forgotten you. There have been seasons where silence felt like punishment, times where you walked into rooms full of people, yet felt completely unseen. You prayed, not out of overflowing faith, but out of the last strength you had. You kept showing up, at work, at church, in life, carrying weight no one else recognized. You held your breath while others got their answers. You celebrated breakthroughs while your own heart bled in the background. You have walked through years of quiet resistance, fighting thoughts that said, if heaven really saw me, this wouldn't still be happening. But today, I lift that lie. Today I speak truth to every forgotten place inside of you. You have not been overlooked. You have not been ignored. You have not been delayed without purpose. Heaven has never been distant. I have been nearer than your heartbeat, present in every question, every disappointment, every long night where hope felt like a distant memory. And if I have allowed the silence, it was only because I was growing something in you that could not be rushed. You are not the same person you were when this began. Look deeper. You may feel tired, but you are wiser. You may feel behind, but your spirit is deeper, more aware, more alert. You have learned to hear me in the absence of noise. You have learned to follow my whisper when the crowd went a different way. That kind of growth is not visible at first. It doesn't get praised. It doesn't trend. But in heaven, it is honored. And I honor it now. You have asked why others seem to rise while you remained hidden. You've tried not to be jealous, but the waiting has worn you down. I understand. I do not rebuke your honesty. I invite it. You can bring your full heart to me, even the frustrated parts, especially those. Because it's in those moments when you're at the edge, when you're tired of hoping, when your hands feel empty, that I pour the deepest measure of myself into you. You haven't seen the full picture yet, and that's by design. Because if I gave you everything at once, you would have moved ahead of me. And this story I'm writing with your life is not just about results, it's about revelation. It's about communion. It's about the version of you I'm forming, one who doesn't need validation to obey, who doesn't depend on outcomes to remain faithful, who knows that even when nothing is working, I am still working. What I've been doing in the background of your life is more holy than you realize. I have been removing the things you didn't know would ruin you. I've allowed relationships to shift, opportunities to close, dreams to delay. Not as a punishment, but as protection. Because you asked me to make you strong. You asked me to make you ready. You asked me to use your life for something that mattered. And I took you seriously. I took your prayers as permission to do a deeper work. That deeper work is not flashy. It's not loud. It doesn't attract applause. But it produces substance. It creates a life that doesn't fall apart under pressure. A heart that doesn't depend on people's recognition to feel secure. A faith that can withstand the dry places and still believe for rain. And that's who you're becoming. Not someone who performs for love, but someone who lives from it. Not someone who constantly questions their worth, but someone who knows they were chosen before they were ever visible. I know it's been long. I know the journey has been exhausting. But I need you to understand something clearly. Delayed does not mean denied. I have not said no to your calling. I have not said no to your future. I have not closed the door to what you've prayed for. I've only been waiting until your spirit caught up with your purpose, because what I'm about to place in your hands cannot be sustained by performance. It must be held by someone who knows their identity in me. This is why I've hidden you. Not because you weren't ready for exposure, but because exposure wasn't ready for you. I protect what carries weight, and I've been protecting you, not because you were weak, but because you are dangerous to the plans of darkness. You have authority that hasn't even been activated yet. You have insight that came from surviving silence. You have a voice that's been shaped by prayer, not popularity. So no, you have not been forgotten. You have been formed in silence, trusted with seasons that felt like exile, and kept under the weight of a process that wasn't meant to punish you, but to prepare you. Everything's about to change. Not because you forced it, not because you finally figured it out, but because you stayed when walking away would have been easier. This moment, right now, is your reminder that heaven never moved on without you. Heaven has been building around you the entire time. While you were questioning your place, I was establishing your position. While you were wondering if you missed something, I was orchestrating everything. And now, as you stand at the edge of what I'm about to reveal, I want you to know with full clarity and confidence, you are not late, you are not lost, and you are not invisible. You are remembered, you are still chosen, you have not been forgotten by heaven. I know how hard it has been to keep walking without answers. I've watched you carry the weight of faith when it felt like silence was your only companion. I saw the moments when you smiled for others while barely holding yourself together. I saw you choosing to believe again, even after disappointment settled in your bones. And I want you to understand this clearly. I have never looked at you through the lens of your struggle. I've always seen your strength. Not the strength the world applauds, but the kind that rises in quiet rooms when no one is watching. The kind that wakes up tired, but still chooses to show up. The kind that doesn't always feel brave, but refuses to turn away from me even when questions outweigh the answers. You have been harder on yourself than I have ever been. You've judged your own progress through timelines and comparisons that I never placed on you. You've called yourself slow when I've called you steady. You've called yourself unqualified when I've called you chosen. You've assumed my silence meant disapproval, when in fact, it was trust. I do not invest this kind of process in someone I intend to abandon. I do not pour this much weight into a life I do not plan to use. You keep wondering what I think of you. You look at your inconsistency and assume it has changed how I see you. But let me tell you plainly, I am not disappointed in you. I am not frustrated with your process. I'm not surprised by your questions or ashamed of your weakness. I knew every fragile place in you before I called you, and I still said yes. You're not a burden to me. You're not a project that needs fixing. You are my beloved, and I take joy in you, not because you always get it right, but because you keep choosing me, even when it costs you. You have no idea how deeply that moves me. The way you return again and again, even when your heart is tired, even when your prayers are quiet and your faith feels small. Those moments carry more weight in heaven than you can imagine. I do not measure you by your performance. I measure you by your proximity, and you are closer than you think. You've asked me what I want from you, hoping maybe there's one clear answer, one thing to fix, one thing to do that will unlock the next step. But this is what I want. I want you, not a more polished version of you, not a louder, braver, more impressive version of you. Just you as you are. I want your heart returned to rest. I want your mind freed from the pressure to be everything at once. I want you to stop chasing what I've already placed within you. My call on your life is not about perfection. It's about presence. You don't need to do more to be seen. You don't need to be louder to be heard. You don't need to work harder to be wanted. I chose you before you had the chance to prove anything. I'm not asking for your strength. I'm asking for your surrender. Let go of the idea that your value depends on your results. That is not how I love. That is not how I lead. I don't need your strategy. I need your stillness. I don't need your urgency. I need your trust. You've wondered if you've missed your moment, if maybe you were too distracted, too delayed, too damaged to step into what I promised. But let me say this with absolute clarity. I do not miss time. I do not run late. And I do not forget my plans. You are not behind. You are not outside of my will. Even your delays are being redeemed. Even your wrong turns are being rerouted into alignment. I work all things together, not just the perfect seasons, but the messy ones too. You're still on the path I prepared. You're still covered by grace. You're still on schedule for what I've ordained. So come back, not to a list of tasks, not to a pressure to perform, but to me. Let your heart exhale again. Let your soul breathe again. You don't need to force what I've already planned. You don't need to chase what I'm bringing to you. This is not about movement. It's about posture. Will you stay close even when nothing seems to be happening? Will you remain faithful when no one is affirming your progress? Will you keep listening even when the answers don't come quickly? These are the places where intimacy is forged. These are the moments that build a foundation no storm can shake. You have not been forgotten. You have been trusted. You have been refined. And now, I'm calling you, not just into purpose, but into peace. Not just into direction, but into nearness. I'm not rushing you, I'm receiving you. And I'm ready to show you what happens when a heart stays connected, even in the dark. You've asked why it had to hurt like that. Not once, but many times. Sometimes in prayer, other times in silence. You've looked back at moments in your story and thought, this couldn't have been necessary. Or, if God truly loved me, He would have stopped this. And I want to answer that now, not to explain away your pain, but to reframe it through truth. Because your pain was not wasted, your suffering was not unseen, and your endurance has not gone unmeasured. I never take joy in watching my children hurt, but I do allow pressure when it produces something eternal. I do allow breaking when it leads to becoming. I do allow fire, not to consume you, but to refine you. There were seasons where you prayed for breakthrough, and instead you met resistance. You prayed for clarity, and instead you were met with silence. You prayed for companionship, and instead you found isolation. It was easy to believe that I was absent, but I was not gone. I was doing a deeper work that only stillness could produce. You wanted immediate comfort. I was offering lasting capacity. I was building something in you that could not be taught by success alone. Some of your most powerful lessons came through what you survived, not through what you accomplished. I did not abandon you in the fire. I stood with you inside it. You don't carry the scent of smoke because I covered you, even when you didn't feel it. There were things that had to fall apart, not to punish you, but to protect you. There were relationships I allowed to end, not because you were unworthy, but because their presence in your next season would have slowed your growth. There were dreams I paused, not because I didn't hear you, but because I knew the version of you that prayed for them was not yet the version of you that could carry them. I wasn't saying no, I was saying, not yet. Not like this, not with this foundation. And that delay, that closed door, that long night, it did something holy in you. It made you softer in the right places and stronger in the ones that mattered. It crushed pride. It raised discernment. It broke illusions. And it introduced you to a depth of me that only suffering reveals. You've looked at those moments and felt shame. You've thought, if I had more faith, I wouldn't have fallen apart like that. Or, if I had been stronger, I wouldn't have broken down. But I want you to see it the way I see it. Your breakdowns were sacred. They were the moments your performance stopped and your honesty rose. They were the cracks in the surface that let my presence flood in. I was not disappointed when you hit your limits. I was waiting there to show you that I never expected you to carry this alone. Your weakness has never been a liability to me. It has been a doorway to deeper communion. I didn't just allow your pain to pass through you. I've used it to reshape you. The way you hear me now is sharper. The way you see others now is more compassionate. The way you trust me now is more rooted. You don't react to life like you once did. You don't depend on outcomes for peace the way you used to. That growth came from fire, not from ease. And I honor it. I honor your tears. I honor your persistence. I honor the parts of you that no one else sees but me. The parts that kept going when quitting would have been easier. You thought no one noticed, but I saw everything. And I never stopped writing. Even your mistakes, your delays, your moments of deep regret, none of it disqualified you. I use all of it. What felt like detours became training grounds. What felt like loss became a lesson that no textbook could teach. You've been forged in a place most people avoid, and because of that, you now carry substance. You carry a voice that carries weight, not just words, but lived truth. Your scars don't disqualify you. They mark you as someone who knows the way through. And now I will begin to use those scars to bring healing to others, not as a person who has it all figured out, but as someone who stayed. Someone who knows what it means to sit in the dark and still believe there's light on the other side. This is why I let it hurt. Because without the pain, the deeper parts of you would have remained untouched. Because without the struggle, your prayer life would have stayed shallow. Because without the disappointment, you would have built your identity on things that don't last. And now, what you carry inside you is not just hope, it's wisdom. It's the kind of strength that doesn't make noise but shifts rooms. The kind of maturity that isn't loud but unshakable. You don't need to be impressive. You just need to remain. And you have. And that matters more than you know. The season of breaking did not end in ruins. It ended in revelation. And that revelation is this: even in the places you thought I had forgotten you, I was there. I was teaching. I was covering. I was building. I was protecting. And now you will begin to understand why it all had to happen that way. Not because the pain was good, but because I'm the only one who can take what was meant to break you and turn it into the very thing that builds you. You have not been forgotten by heaven. You have been watched, loved, refined, and trusted. And now, the same places that once held sorrow will become the soil of great fruit. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was lost. And everything is about to become clear. Everything around you may still look the same, but the atmosphere and the spirit has shifted. The silence that once seemed like absence is now making room for movement. You don't need to feel anything dramatic to know that I've started something. The shift doesn't always begin with a miracle you can see. Sometimes it begins with a change in perception, with a sudden moment of peace that doesn't match your surroundings, with the way you wake up and sense that something is aligning even though nothing external has confirmed it yet. That is not imagination. That is recognition. You are not waiting for a breakthrough to begin. You are in the beginning of what I've already released. The delay you perceived was never a denial. It was a restructuring. I have been aligning people, decisions, environments, and timing, things that had to move into position before the door could open. Not just so the door would open, but so that when it did, it would lead you exactly where I intended. I do not open doors randomly. I do not elevate without strategy. And I never waste the process that came before the promotion. That is why some things took longer than you expected. I wasn't trying to frustrate you. I was forming the version of you that could carry what's next. Because what's coming isn't fragile. It's weighty. And I don't place weight on unstable ground. What you've built in the dark the quiet obedience, the uncelebrated endurance, the character that was forged in fire. Those are the things that have qualified you. I don't look for credentials. I look for consistency. And you have remained, even when everything in you wanted to withdraw. That alone has activated a new level of access. Now watch. Watch how clarity begins to return. Watch how conversations start to lead to confirmation. Watch how people you weren't expecting begin to show up. People sent to walk with you, to unlock something in you, to call out what has been buried. Watch how doors you didn't have the energy to push begin to swing open on their own. This is the fruit of remaining. This is what happens when heaven remembers openly what it already confirmed in secret. I'm not just bringing answers. I'm bringing restoration. The years that felt silent will now speak loudly of my faithfulness. The spaces that once felt barren will now begin to bear fruit. The parts of you that felt forgotten will now become the places I use to lead others out of the same wilderness. You will begin to notice how things come together, not through your force, but through my favor. You won't have to fight for every opportunity. You won't have to beg for recognition. You won't have to explain why it took so long. The fruit will speak. The clarity will speak. The authority you carry now will speak. I will surround you with what you need, not just financially or externally, but internally. I will give you rest that fuels your decisions. I will give you focus that silences the noise. I will give you language for things you once could only feel. I am not sending you into this next season hoping you survive it. I am sending you in, equipped, restored, and aware of who you are. The signals are already appearing. The heaviness is starting to lift. Your discernment is becoming sharper. Your appetite is changing. What used to distract you now feels empty. What used to entertain you now feels irrelevant. That's not confusion. That's maturity. That's your spirit recognizing that it has outgrown the season it once called normal. That internal shift is the first sign that external things are about to respond. I'm giving you new desires, not to frustrate you, but to prepare you. Because the place I'm leading you into cannot be built on old appetites. It requires new rhythms, new focus, new boundaries. And I will help you steward all of it. Don't be surprised when things you depended on begin to fall away. That is not loss. That is clearing. I am making space. Some relationships are fading, not because of offense, but because their assignment in your life is complete. Some systems are collapsing, not because you failed, but because I'm calling you to build differently now. Some doors will close fully so that you stop wondering if you should go back. I'm not just giving you something new. I am removing every excuse to remain in the old. What's coming cannot be carried with divided loyalty. I am your source now, not just your provider. Your source of peace, of identity, of confidence, of direction. I'm grounding you in a way that no outcome ever could. So walk with expectation, not desperation. You don't need to strive for what I've already said is yours. You don't need to force what I've already promised to fulfill. You don't need to fight for space in rooms I've already assigned to you. Stay in posture. Stay in alignment. Keep your heart tender and your eyes open. I am speaking louder than ever, not in volume, but in precision. And if you listen, you will hear me clearly. You will feel it in your timing. You will sense it in the way people respond. You will know it in your spirit before you see it in your life. You have not been forgotten by heaven. And now, heaven is preparing to show you what happens when someone remains faithful, even in the silence. Now that you know the shift is real and the promises are in motion, you must decide how you will respond. Not in theory, but in your daily life. Because what I've declared over you is not passive, it's alive. It's growing. It's already unfolding. And your role now is to cooperate with the movement, to respond in a way that aligns your habits, your thoughts, and your words with the reality of what's coming. This is not about earning what I'm giving you. This is about positioning yourself to carry it. Some of the most important breakthroughs will not come through dramatic moments. They will come through quiet decisions. The way you wake up in the morning, the way you manage your inner world before the day begins, the way you respond when your emotions rise. These are the places where alignment happens. I'm calling you to live with expectation, not pressure. That means preparing without striving, believing without panicking, trusting even when the external signs still feel subtle. It means speaking like someone who knows heaven has already made a move. If your language continues to reflect the fear of lack, the confusion of delay, or the pain of disappointment, you will create an atmosphere around you that contradicts what I'm building within you. That's why I'm not just asking you to believe privately. I'm asking you to speak publicly, not loudly, not for attention, but consistently, intentionally, with language that affirms what I've said instead of repeating what life has tried to teach you through trauma. You've spent enough time agreeing with fear, enough time preparing for loss, enough time hesitating in cycles of doubt. Now is the time to walk forward, even if it's with trembling hands, even if your steps are small, even if no one else sees the significance. Because when you step in faith, even quietly, all of heaven moves with you. I don't need you to be loud. I need you to be willing to act before the outcome, willing to pray before the breakthrough, willing to stand even when your knees shake. Let your routine reflect what you say you believe. If you believe I'm speaking, then create space to listen. If you believe I'm moving, then remove distractions that keep you numb. If you believe I'm preparing something new, then stop giving your energy to what has already expired. This is not about becoming busier. This is about becoming focused. You've been pulled in too many directions, saying yes to things that keep your spirit divided. Now I'm calling you to sharpen your focus, not just around what you do, but around what you carry. You don't have capacity for everything anymore. You have capacity for what matters, for what aligns, for what's eternal. Return to the secret place, not just when you need help, but as a rhythm, as a priority. Meet me in the quiet again. Start your day not scrolling, not planning, not rushing, but sitting, listening, receiving. 10 minutes of stillness with me will give you more clarity than hours of anxious productivity. I want to speak to you, not in riddles, but in rhythm. I want to teach you how to recognize me before you recognize solutions. Because when you learn to hear my voice, you'll stop panicking every time things shift around you. You'll know who you are. You'll know where you stand. You'll walk through storms as one who has already heard the outcome. Be intentional with my word, not out of obligation, but out of need. Let it be the first voice that fills your mind in the morning. Let it be the standard by which you judge every other voice throughout the day. You don't need 100 new scriptures. You need to return to the one I've already highlighted. Meditate on it. Declare it. Let it correct the lies that still whisper when you're tired. Let it saturate your language until what flows from your mouth is not just survival, but truth. Watch how you respond to resistance. Every time you're triggered by fear, by discouragement, by delay, that is not failure. It is an invitation, a moment to pause, breathe, and respond from faith instead of fear. That's where maturity forms. That's where spiritual muscle grows. I'm not asking you to ignore what's hard. I'm asking you to refuse to be led by it. Your feelings are real, but they're not your compass. My spirit is. My word is. My peace is. And when you choose alignment, even when it's uncomfortable, the shift accelerates. Practice joy, not forced, but chosen. Gratitude will make space for what's next before it arrives. Thanksgiving is not just a response to blessings, it's a key that unlocks more. When you thank me for what hasn't fully shown up yet, you're telling heaven, I trust you more than I trust what I see. That kind of faith attracts favor. That kind of posture multiplies what you carry. And above all, remain steady. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove anything. Just walk in what you've received. Let it shape your attitude. Let it shape your conversations. Let it shape your decisions. When you live aligned, even the ordinary becomes supernatural. That is how you carry what I've promised. That is how you prepare for what's coming. That is how you protect what I've already begun. Because no, you were never forgotten. You were being equipped. And now that the promise is near, I'm calling you not to chase it, but to live like it's already yours. You've been walking with weight you were never meant to carry. Not just the weight of expectation, responsibility, or grief, but the weight of distorted identity. Over time, through disappointments, delays, and the silence of unanswered questions, your view of yourself began to shift. You started to believe that maybe you were just surviving your way through this life. That maybe you weren't as chosen, as called, as necessary as you once believed. You didn't say it out loud, but your internal narrative started to change. You no longer spoke about the future with the same confidence. You stopped dreaming at full volume. You adjusted your expectations, not out of wisdom, but out of fear. Fear of hoping again. Fear of being let down again. Fear that if you kept reaching, you would be left empty one more time. But I saw it all. I saw when your language started shrinking. I saw when your passion became muted. I saw when the fire turned into quiet survival. And I never judged you for it. I understood exactly where it came from. That's why I'm not just calling you forward. I'm calling you back. Back to who you really are. Back to the core of who I created you to be before the pain, before the pressure, before the expectations distorted your voice. I'm not asking you to perform your way out of this. I'm asking you to remember. Remember the way I first looked at you. Remember the way I chose you long before you accomplished anything. Remember the way my presence wrapped around you before you knew what it meant to lead, serve, or sacrifice. I haven't changed my mind about you. Not once. Not even on your worst day. Not even when you thought about giving up. Not even when you walked away from things I called you to. My call remains. My love remains. My design for your life remains. You keep waiting to feel worthy before you rise again, but worthiness was never the condition. I gave it to you before you knew how to ask for it. You don't have to earn your way back into purpose. You simply need to recognize that you never left my heart. You never stopped being seen. You never stopped being loved. The version of you that feels invisible to people has always been visible to me. I never overlooked you. I protected you. I covered you. I watched as you chose integrity when no one was applauding. I listened when your prayers were nothing more than a whisper. I stood beside you when you had no language for your pain. And now I say, rise again. Not in hype, but in truth. Not in performance, but in peace. You are not your failure. You are not your delay. You are not what they said about you. You are not what you lost. You are not what you missed. You are not a shadow of your past. You are not too late. You are not too complicated. You are not too broken. You are mine. You are a reflection of my creativity. You are a vessel of my spirit. You are a carrier of my word. And no part of your story disqualifies you from the glory I've placed inside you. The enemy tried to wear you down with shame. He tried to convince you that the cracks in your story meant you were no longer usable. But he miscalculated the power of grace. Because my grace doesn't skip over cracked vessels, it fills them. It flows through them. It shines from the very places others tried to shame you for. You're not weak. You're weathered. And there's a difference. Weakness retreats. and hides, but the weathered stand quietly in the storm, carrying wisdom that others cannot see. You have become that. You carry the wisdom of someone who has been to the edge and found me there. You carry the peace of someone who has lost much and still believes. You carry the strength of someone who has walked through silence and stayed faithful. These things are not easily taught. They are forged, and you, beloved, have been forged. And now I am reminding you, what I placed inside you still burns. It may have been buried under grief, fear, or exhaustion, but the fire has not gone out, and I am breathing on it again. You will begin to feel your voice return, not just your ability to speak, but your ability to speak with clarity, confidence, and conviction. The fear of being misunderstood will lose its grip. The pressure to say everything perfectly will fall away. You will speak from identity, not from insecurity. And what comes out of you will not be for approval. It will be for purpose. You will stand not to be seen, but because you remember who sent you. You will lead not for control, but because you've been entrusted with something sacred. You will love again without fear of loss. You will hope again without apology. You will rise again, not in haste, but in healing. And when you do, the world won't know what changed, but I will, because I was there in the breaking. I was there in the reshaping, and I will be there in the rebuilding. Not one piece of you is wasted. Not one wound is ignored. I'm restoring you, not to who you were before the pain, but to someone even deeper, truer, stronger. This is identity restoration. This is what it means to be seen, known, healed, and sent again. Because you have not been forgotten by heaven, and neither has the version of you that I created to carry fire, clarity, and peace in a world that desperately needs it. Now that I've reminded you of who you are and confirmed what I've prepared for you, you must begin to live in alignment with what I've spoken. This is not about becoming hyper-spiritual or striving to earn what I've already given. It's about cultivating a lifestyle that can carry the weight of what I'm releasing into your life. You've been called to live from presence, not from performance. And that requires structure, not for religion, but for rhythm. Spiritual order will give your soul the stability it has been crying out for. You've tasted my peace, but now I want to establish it in your routine. You've encountered my voice, but now I want to train your heart to recognize it daily. Let's begin with prayer. Not the kind of prayer that performs or follows rigid formulas. I'm calling you into real, raw, consistent communion. I want you to create space in your day, not just when you're in crisis, but when things are quiet. I want to be the first voice you hear, not the one you run to after everything else has failed. Set aside intentional time, even 10 minutes at the start of your morning, to sit with me. You don't need eloquent words. You need honesty. Let your silence speak. Let your sighs be prayers. Let your rest be worship. Bring me your thoughts before the world shapes them. When you start your day with me, everything else comes into alignment. Peace takes root before pressure can enter. Clarity settles before confusion has a chance to speak. I'm not asking for more effort. I'm inviting you into rhythm. And as you create space for prayer, I want you to return to my word, not as something you should do, but as something you're hungry for. My word is not a textbook, it's breath. It doesn't just inform, it transforms. You don't need to read chapters at a time. You need to slow down and let the truth sink in. One passage, meditated on with an open heart, will do more for you than hours of distracted study. I want you to read, expecting me to speak. I want you to stop looking for rules and start looking for revelation. Ask me questions. Write down what stirs you. Declare what corrects you. Let my word become the language of your internal world. It will shape your instincts. It will frame your thoughts. It will guard your emotions. You won't have to try to sound spiritual. You'll simply begin to speak truth without effort. Pay attention also to your atmosphere. You've become more spiritually sensitive than you realize, and what you allow into your daily environment either strengthens or weakens your clarity. Be mindful of what you consume, what you listen to, who you entertain. This is not about fear, it's about stewardship. Some things drain your spirit, and you've learned to tolerate that numbness as normal, but I'm calling you to protect your fire. If it doesn't feed your faith, it's not worth your time. If it dulls your discernment, it's not harmless. You can no longer afford to live passively. I'm building something in you that requires vigilance, not paranoia, just awareness. The more you simplify your focus, the more clearly you'll hear me. Let your internal posture reflect the transformation. I want to see humility become your strength, not insecurity, but the kind of humility that listens, learns, adjusts quickly, and stays sensitive. Pride will always push you to perform. Humility keeps you soft. Soft to correction. Soft to conviction. Soft to the leading of my spirit when it disrupts your plans. I want you to trust me enough to be interrupted. Some of your greatest encounters won't be scheduled. They'll come in the middle of ordinary moments when you least expect it, if you're willing to pay attention. Also, I'm calling you to rebuild the discipline of stillness. You've moved too fast for too long. Rest is not laziness, it's obedience. Sabbath is not optional, it's holy. You were never meant to run without rhythm. I designed your soul to need silence. Stop waiting for peace to show up after the storm. Learn to create peace in the middle of the noise. Sit with me without an agenda. Just be. That space will become your well. From there I will refill you daily. Not with hype, but with quiet strength that won't collapse under pressure. You'll move slower on the outside, but faster in the spirit. You'll say less, but carry more, and the difference will be evident in your presence. Lastly, keep your heart open to obedience, not just the big decisions, but the small, inconvenient ones. When I nudge you to reach out to someone, respond. When I prompt you to step back from something, don't delay. When I stir you to worship in the middle of fatigue, lift your voice anyway. These moments matter. I'm forming muscle memory in your spirit. The ones I use most in the earth are not the most talented. They are the most surrendered, the most sensitive, the most consistent. You don't need to understand everything to move with me. You just need to say yes when I speak. That yes, again and again, will carry you further than any plan ever could. This is how we walk together now, not just in moments, but in lifestyle. Not just in highs, but in rhythm. You were not created to constantly crash and restart. You were created to walk steadily, with peace, with clarity, and with power that comes not from striving but from presence. Build the structure. Keep the flame. Protect the focus. Watch how I sustain what I started. Because this isn't just about discipline, it's about dwelling. I'm not visiting your life, I'm living in it. And together we will walk every step from this point forward with purpose. Because you have not been forgotten by heaven, and now you know how to walk like it. What you have waited for in faith, through tears, through stillness, and through storms, is not being withheld. It is being released. And I say to you now, with full clarity and intention, you have crossed a line in the Spirit. This is not the season of almost. This is not the place of someday. This is the turning point that has been written into your story from the beginning. The timing is no longer pending. It is present. The space between promise and fulfillment is collapsing, and the weight you've carried is about to be exchanged for movement, clarity, and confirmation. You will not have to wonder when it starts. It already has. There is a fresh momentum building beneath the surface of your life. You have felt it in small ways, a change in your appetite for distraction, a sudden urge to organize, an inner nudge to prepare, to release, to let go. These are not random urges. They are prophetic signals. They are heaven's way of telling you that the next chapter is not waiting on me, it's waiting on you to walk in it. And now you will begin to see visible evidence of what I've already begun in the Spirit. Connections will form that you did not chase. Conversations will happen that you did not orchestrate. Provision will appear in areas where you only expected survival. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. I have not forgotten your prayers. I have not overlooked your obedience. And I have not ignored your pain. I am responding to it all at once. You have reached the point of activation. This is the place where what was forming in silence begins to emerge in clarity. You've gone through the tearing. You've passed through the refining. And now, I am releasing the revealing. You are not being sent out as the version of yourself that entered the wilderness. You are being sent as the one who stayed, the one who stood, the one who held onto my voice when nothing else made sense. And now I'm releasing favor, not as a reward for performance, but as a response to surrender. This favor will not just open doors, it will protect you as you walk through them. You will not need to strive to maintain what I'm giving you. You will only need to stay aligned with the voice that got you here. There will be movement in multiple areas at once. Relationships, finances, vision, location, health. I will begin to move in ways that seem sudden, but they are only sudden to your senses. In the Spirit, these things have been long prepared, and now they are being made visible. You will not need to explain yourself to people who didn't walk through the silence with you. I will confirm you publicly in ways that silence every doubt and every false assumption. I will surround you with the right voices, people who recognize what you carry without needing you to prove it, and I will remove the voices that once anchored you to confusion. This is also a season of exposure. Not exposure to shame you, but to bring hidden things to the surface. I'm not just blessing what is seen, I'm healing what has been buried. I will bring up things in your heart that are ready to be released. Old wounds, false beliefs, self-protection mechanisms that once helped you survive, but now block what I'm building. Do not resist the discomfort. The healing will be deep, but the freedom will be real. I'm not doing surface work, I'm going to the root, because what I'm building on your life requires a clean foundation. And you're ready now. You're strong enough now. You're mature enough now, because you stayed. Pay attention to the invitations that come over the next weeks. Some of them will not look like breakthrough. They will look like responsibility. But hidden in that responsibility is opportunity. Hidden in that opportunity is increase. Hidden in that increase is legacy. I'm not giving you a moment. I'm giving you a mantle. Something you can build with. Something that will not fade when emotion does. Something that will outlast you. And because of that, I am not rushing you forward in hype. I am releasing you in rhythm. There will be grace to move and grace to wait. There will be clarity to discern and clarity to speak. You will no longer operate in confusion. You will walk in authority. And when the shift is undeniable, when what you've seen in the Spirit begins to manifest around you, do not shrink. Do not apologize. Do not disqualify yourself in the moment I confirm you. Walk in it. Stand in it. Speak from it, love from it, lead from it. This is not arrogance, this is agreement. And I need you to agree with what I've said, because where you're going, people will need the version of you that is fully alive, fully present, and fully aware that heaven has not forgotten who you are. You are being released. The pace will increase, but the pressure will not. Because what I give, I sustain, and what I speak, I complete. Do not fear this change. It is not disruption. It is fulfillment. You were not wrong to hope. You are not wrong to wait, and now the same God who kept you is the God who releases you with power, with peace, and with purpose. Now that you've heard me speak and felt the shift in your spirit, it's time to stop trying to hold everything together on your own. I'm not calling you to carry this with your own strength. I'm not inviting you to understand everything. I'm calling you into encounter, not with more doctrine, not with ideas, not with inspirational thoughts, but with me, my presence, my spirit, my power. I want to invade your inner world, not to stir your emotions, but to bring real healing, the kind that doesn't wear off when the music fades or when you're alone again. You've been living with parts of your heart walled off for a long time. Even in your prayers, you give me access to some things, but not all. You're not trying to be resistant. You've simply learned to protect yourself. Pain taught you how to compartmentalize. Disappointment taught you how to be cautious. And survival taught you how to move forward while leaving pieces of yourself behind. But I never asked you to live divided. I never asked you to press through numbness and pretend it's strength. I never asked for a polished version of your soul. I want the full version, the real one, the one still aching, the one still afraid to hope, the one still holding its breath. Let me into that place, not to expose you, to free you. My spirit is not a concept. He is not an occasional feeling. He is not limited to rooms with music or messages. He is here, now, with you, in this very moment. And he is ready to fill you, not with noise, but with presence. Not with pressure, but with peace. Not with emotional stimulation, but with supernatural stillness. I want to baptize you again, not in water, but in clarity, in rest, in love, in fire that refines instead of burns out. I want to show you that I am not impressed by your ability to keep going. I am moved by your willingness to stop and let me take over. You've carried too much. You've tried to fix things only I can heal. You've tried to make sense of what I never asked you to figure out. And now, I want to lift the internal weight. I want to speak into the places you've gone quiet. I want to calm the questions that still keep you up at night. You've been functioning through fatigue. You've been pushing through without asking for help. But here I am, ready to take what you won't admit is too heavy. Ready to pour what you haven't known how to ask for. You do not have to earn this. You do not have to explain it. You only need to receive. Breathe, not just to survive, but to make space. As you read these words, my spirit is already doing what no human could. You may feel heat in your chest or a softening in your mind. You may feel nothing at all. It does not matter. I'm not limited to sensations. I move where there is surrender, and you have surrendered. Even when you were unsure, even when it felt like a whisper, even when all you had left was a half prayer beneath your breath. I heard it, I received it, and I'm responding to it now. I want to awaken the parts of you that stopped believing joy was possible. I want to heal the part of your memory that still flinches when certain names or places come up. I want to bring closure where no apology was ever offered. I want to unlock your voice again, not for public ministry, but for private peace. Your voice matters. Your tears matter. Your stillness matters. And I want to live with you not just in your bold moments, but in the boring ones, the hidden ones, the ones where no one claps but me. I want to teach you how to walk in the Spirit, not as a rare experience, but as a steady rhythm. I want to bring a calm that settles into your body, a joy that can't be manipulated, a discernment that's more than gut instinct. I want to flood your room with my peace. I want to anchor your nervous system in truth. I want your body to rest while your soul stays awake to me. I want to restore a level of inner quiet that anxiety no longer knows how to enter. I want to show you what real freedom looks like, not just behaviorally, but emotionally, internally, quietly, permanently. You're being transformed, not by effort, not by information, but by encounter. You're being healed in places even you forgot were hurting. You're being rebuilt from the ground up. You're not the same. You will not move the same. You will not think the same. You will not respond to life the same. This is not a temporary surge of clarity. This is a moment where heaven rewrites what hell tried to label, where I come and reclaim what trauma tried to deform, where my spirit marks you not for performance, but for presence. So slow down. Stay with me. Don't rush to apply what you've read. Just sit. Just breathe. Just let me be with you here. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to figure anything out. You only need to say, yep. Yes, I'm still here. That's all I need. And with that, I will move deeper still. Because you have not been forgotten by heaven. And now, you are being filled from within by the one who never left. This is not the end of a message. This is the moment of release. I have poured into you not just words, but life. I have awakened what the world tried to numb. I have healed what pain tried to bury. I have shown you who you are again. Not the version shaped by fear or fatigue, but the version I always saw, even when you couldn't. And now, you carry something real. Something that wasn't borrowed from others. Something that wasn't copied or manufactured. You carry what was formed in silence, pressed in fire, sustained in waiting, and revealed in encounter. You no longer have to question your value. You no longer have to live as though you're forgotten, hidden, or unqualified. You are no longer surviving your way through life. You are walking with clarity, with authority, with peace. Not because everything changed around you, but because everything changed inside of you. I have settled you. I have sent you. And I have called you to rise, not as a reaction, but as a response to what I've already done. From this moment forward, you walk differently. You pray differently. You think and speak and live with the awareness that heaven has never taken its eyes off you. What you carry will speak louder than explanation. Your peace will carry weight. Your obedience will shift atmospheres. Your decisions will build legacy. You are not chasing your calling anymore. You are standing in it. I am not rushing you forward. I am rooting you deeper. Everything that grows from here will be fruit that remains. There will be days ahead that still feel unclear, moments when resistance tries to creep back in. But now, you have history with me. Now, you have language for what you've carried. Now, you know what it feels like to walk as one who is seen, sealed, and sent. And when you forget, return here, not to the words, but to the moment when you realized you were never forgotten. Let this be your anchor. Let this be your reminder. Let this be the place you remember that everything I spoke I will finish. So rise, with confidence, not pressure, with rest, not striving, with stillness, not fear. You don't need to wait to feel ready. You only need to agree with what I've already said. The same God who found you in silence will walk with you through the shift, and everything I've begun, I will sustain. You were not made to fade. You were not made to quit. You were made to carry fire, because you have not been forgotten by heaven. You've been formed, you've been filled, and now you are being released. Amen. Share this message with someone who feels hidden but has no idea what God is forming in the silence. Leave a like so this message can reach more lives in need of restoration. Turn on notifications to receive the next word from heaven, right when it arrives. Stay connected. You're not walking alone.